You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on CJAD 800.
That is Jim Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, big announcement today from Hydro-Quebec. All the big wigs were there, including Michael Sabia, we hadn't heard a whole lot from up until now. What's the takeaway from this?
Well, when you say big, it must be big. Depending on the report that you read, it's either $100 billion they're spending over the next 8 to 10 years or $185 billion. My question is this, though. As far as I know, because we're talking about, there's the residential market and Quebecers may be called upon to change their power consumption habits and this and that. All I know is all this money is our money, right? The companies that are getting, they'll pay for the cheap rate electricity that we're giving them in exchange for settling here, but they're not paying for any of this infrastructure. And you really have to wonder, given all the curves in the road and all the possibilities for things going wrong, whether indeed they'll be able to pull this off. We're talking about nothing less than doubling the output of Hydro-Quebec. And they're saying, well, demand is expected to double, between now and, say, 2035. As far as I'm concerned, that's a lot of iPhones. But as far as I can tell, the population is not going to skyrocket. Do I deduce, therefore, we're talking about standing on our heads and emptying our wallets to accommodate what we hope will be a commercial market? I'm not sure if that is going to, how can I put it, be digested easily by a Quebec public that's already facing all kinds of other economic challenges. And the other question, of course, is that even though now Mr. Sabia is saying, no, hydro rates won't go up, let's face it, the real foundation for Hydro-Quebec's reputation as a, quote-unquote, national institution, and it was created in order that Quebecers could have inexpensive hydroelectric power. Dare they change that? We've seen a lot change over the past few years in this province. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. And by all means, it's going to be even more interesting. And let's hope the work has already begun for newsrooms and any other interested parties to start going through what I'm sure will be 185 billion pages of documents connected with this, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff going on that we don't know about, that we're going to need to know about. This is going to be a fundamental change, not just in the hydroelectric business, but in how literally the face of this province, if they're building dams, if they're establishing wind farms. All of this, there are a zillion unanswered questions, and yes, I realize, it's great that we want to have enough electricity for all of us, but on the other hand, I kind of got chills down my spine when Mr. Sabia made his announcement, and it wasn't chills of excitement.
I'm just thinking, it'll make everything better. It'll make it all go away. It's just more checks from François Legault. If he mails us checks, everyone will forget about any troubles with Hydro-Quebec.
He's going to want checks from us, Natasha. Come on.
The way this is going, yeah.
I don't understand.
Right.
I don't understand how, on the one hand, François Legault can spend the last 10 days telling anybody who makes this province go, whether it's, teachers or nurses or even the municipalities that provide us with frontline, you have to be careful. We have very little margin for maneuver here. Money is really tight. And I realize we're talking about a long-term investment here, but even if we lowball it and say it's only $100 billion, listen, I've lived here all my life, and even in Quebec, $100 billion is a lot of money. I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't know if indeed the government's going to either put itself in hawk or indeed if our rates are going to go up. But the fact is, this is a major, major announcement of which we know virtually nothing. And I only hope more light is shed on what exactly is going to be done. They're going to spend like $30 to $40 billion on infrastructure. Last I heard, the major problem with infrastructure are branches bringing down the wires. Mm-hmm. So are they indeed going to think of burying those wires? Who knows? No mention that, but I heard of that today. Yeah. But once again, a major change in Quebec's business and, quite frankly, social future was announced today. Let's hope we find out a lot more about this.
Yeah, there are scant details, as you said, Jim. I think the rub here is always, if we're going to go out, and I see the Montreal Economic Institute already came out today and commended the government for this, but the rub is always, okay, big business, we're investing lots of money, but as you said, where's this money coming from? And at the end of the day, if this means consumers end up paying more, what happens then? Then the government has to say, well, this is for our future. And people are saying, this is for my present, never mind our future, and we can't do this anymore.
And quite frankly, Aaron, if we get a sliver of a molecule of a hint that Quebec taxpayers are being used to subsidize foreign investors, I don't care how much Teflon Francois Legault, or even indeed his successor, because we're talking about a multi-year plan here, is wrapped in, they will be blasted to atoms on this. There is absolutely no way anybody, regardless of their political affiliation, will sit still for this.
I feel like Pierre Fitzgibbon is the evil genius behind all of this.
He might be the architect, but my gut told me that to a certain extent. I know we can't tell from one day to another whether Francois Legault is a federalist by convenience or an out-and-out separatist, but I get the impression the man is in desperate search of a legacy, and this might just be it.
Good point.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Jim, I want to go to a story that's actually just breaking now. I see Pierre-Karl Pelleteau on TV trying to make sense of this.
My.
So for people who have not heard, this is big. TVA or TVA here in Quebec, laying off how many people, Jim?
600 and change. I just saw before I came on. I was talking to Emily about it before we went on. But this is a major announcement from TVA, which is a part of the Quebecor network, which is part of the media infrastructure of Quebec. And the reality is, we all know, I mean, I don't beat my breast about it every time I'm on the show, but media everywhere is in trouble. Mm-hmm. Media in Canada is in trouble. God help us, English language media is in trouble in Quebec. But the fact is, for Quebecor to turn around and say that they're cutting more than 500 jobs and they're looking at a lot of their production activities, this is, and there's my favorite, it's not specified, but I'm sure even if I say it, you guys will feel your blood run cold. They're talking about restructuring. Mm-hmm. So, usually restructuring means if you were inside of a newsroom one day, you were structured out of it the next. But this is a big deal, and I know that TVA has been being hit like any other media company, and I also know that when you look at the way they have been covering the news, and I don't mean this as an insult, but it's clear that that's what they were doing a lot, especially their online content was between headlines and the content itself. They were looking for clicks. They were trying to convince advertisers, listen, we got to keep the audience up. But once again, and God help us, maybe by the end of the week, Francois Legault is going to find a reason to blame Anglos for this.
I was going to just bring that up.
It's clear that media markets, much in the same way as, and I'm sure you've been told as well, as I certainly been told, that our markets are splintering, that people have options, that people are they may get the news, but they're going through 4 other doors until they finally get to your platform. Same thing's happening with French language media. And once again, I'm sure, someone's going to pipe up and say, well, a lot of people are looking at English media as well, and blah, blah, blah. So, but this is terrible news. And as someone who has seen his own newsroom reduced from hundreds to dozens, I offer my sincere sympathies to the people who are going to be hit by this wave. But clearly, Quebec may be a distinct society, but not when it comes to, media market forces, that's for sure.
By the way, this is a third of its workforce. It's not 10%,
31% of its workforce, and they're saying the complete elimination of all its in-house entertainment content that they produce themselves. Pierre-Karl Pelleteau, as we speak right now, is blaming it on lost ad revenue to web, that everything's online, and so they just can't keep up.
Well, they're not exactly invisible online, but what I can tell you is the Internet's been around for a while, but I can tell you that Quebecor shares have been, how can I put it, performing less than sterlingly over the past year and a half. And if anything else, is perhaps a reflection of the streets view of that particular company and how it's being managed.
Yeah, so by the way, this doesn't break down in terms of where these jobs are being cut from, and I'm guessing I've heard no mention of the Journal de Montréal here, so that's not even in play?
Oh, I would say everything is in play,
Yeah.
Aaron. And don't forget, because even though they had kept, because the Journal as a newspaper, both of them, I believe, did comparatively well, compared to other publications that are still being literally published. That said, that erosion of the market is happening there as well. So even if their numbers would still be enviable from some of their competitors, they're unacceptable for TVA and for Quebecor. And remember, this is an essential, a huge source of information for a lot of Quebecers. Yeah. So let's not, I'm talking about money, we're talking about business, but don't forget there is going to be political fallout here, because who knows? Is the attempt now going to be to spend more time talking to Radio-Canada, because that message is going to get out? Believe me, this stuff is for real.
James MENNIE, the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Matt.